I'm Renee.
And I'm Anjalice.
And we're the hosts of your podcast,
Hidden But Not Unseen. Welcome to episode 10.
Episode 10, baby.
Double digits. We've reached it.
Yes. Wow.
I know. It's crazy.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Anyways, enough of that.
Yeah, we're going to go into our icebreaker question.
Icebreaker. So, the question of this week's episode. Would you rather have a never-ending bowl of ice cream or never-ending cookies?
This one's like really easy for me.
Is it?
Yeah. I would say never-ending cookies.
Oh, for real? Just never-ending cookies? That's it? Like nothing else?
Yeah. I like ice cream, but
Yeah.
I don't love ice cream. I love cookies.
Okay.
And there's so many different types of both.
Yeah.
So you can have a variety of, ice creams and cookies, but I love cookies because you can do so many things with it.
Okay. Cookies.
I don't know.
No, that's all right. It is what it is.
What about you?
It's weird. Normally I would just say ice cream because I love ice cream and I still do love ice cream, but recently I've just kind of not been into any sweets. So I don't know. I might choose cookies more than ice cream at this point in time, but nah, we'll stick with ice cream. Kelly's Cookie Monster ice cream, 100%. I don't know how many times I've said it on this show, but Kelly's Cookie Monster.
It has to be specifically Kelly's.
Yeah,
never ending bowl of Kelly's.
Specifically that one. If it's anything else, but Kelly's.
Yeah, that's true.
It also has the best of both worlds, ice cream and cookies.
That's true also.
So
loophole?
Yeah, I think I cheated and got that one for sure. Both.
I thought you were going to say none, but then you switched to both.
No,
you're I actually don't like sweets like that.
Well, I mean, I was just, as of right now, yeah, I've kind of just been I'll eat a cookie or two, but I'll be all right.
Right.
I don't have to eat sweets as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's a good problem, I guess.
Yeah,
It's not a problem. I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah.
We're going to go into our topic of this episode, which is stepping into leadership.
Yo, that's a good topic, and I can't wait to dive in. But before we do, disclaimer as always, we are not theologians, so we did not go to school to study the Bible all the way, but we did do our research so that we could understand this topic better, and, we've dived into scriptures and articles and things of that matter, and we encourage you guys to do the same, so for sure, dude.
Yeah, so you might be asking, what is leadership? Some people might know already because it's kind of obvious. Mm-hmm. But I have two definitions for you. The first one says leadership is the ability of an individual or a group of individuals to influence and guide followers or other members of an organization.
Okay. That's good.
It's pretty generic, I think.
Yeah, but it's pretty good. I mean, it gives
good.
you a general overview of what leadership is. Leadership.
Yes. And so the second one says leadership is a process by which an executive can direct, guide, and influence the behavior and work of others towards accomplishment of specific goals in a given situation. So this is kind of more in depth.
Yeah, that was a lot. Leadership is the process by which an executive. Okay. Anyways.
Yeah. So it's more of an in-depth definition.
Yeah. But it's a good one still, too.
Yeah, it's kind of the same, but just more specific. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's basically what leadership is.
Yeah, I think first things first.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that I'm pretty sure, and I really do think that everyone is called to a position of leadership. Everybody is a leader.
Yes.
Because the Bible tells us that we're all the body of Christ. It says it in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 14 through 31. I'm not going to read all of them, but I will kind of break down some of the things that I think are the most important in this verse. Well, these verses. And it kind of just says that, for the body does not consist of one member, but of many. And if the foot would say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, would that not make it any less of the part of the body? So in this, people are cool, well, I see this person, mm-hmm. and since I don't have what they have, then I'm irrelevant pretty much. But then there's a crucial part in one of the verses. It says that would not make it any less a part of the body. So like, just because you're a hand and I'm a foot and they're an eyelash and this person's an earlobe, it doesn't mean that they're any less of that. Right. And then the last part that I kind of really want to bring out is that as it is, there are many parts, yet one body. So all of us kind of work together in one Christly body to then fulfill all these things. So like in that, you're called to your position of leadership the same way I'm called to my position of leadership. Right. Though it may look different, it's where we're working together. And I think like the further and further you go down in this like passage of scripture, you see that it lists specific roles, like kind of the ones that sound cool and flashy and all that type of stuff that we see. Like it talks about like a pastor, an apostle, a prophet, a teacher, and all of that. And a lot of times people can shut off the fact that they are called to be leaders because it's not that type of leadership. Right. Because you're like, oh, that's so far out there. Like, I can't be that. So I'm just not going to be a leader at all. But that's not, like, God specifically says later also in this passage that is everybody supposed to be this? He's like, nah. So what you call, we're one body. So like, you don't have to kind of look at this and say, because I'm not that, I'm not a leader. He's saying not everybody is called to do this. Not everybody's called to this position, but we are all called to be in the position that Christ has put us in. Right. So.
In the body.
Leadership, y'all.
Yeah. And so I think that all basically just states that we're called to more. Like, we shouldn't stay where we are. In life, we should continue to grow and become leaders of wherever God leads us into.
Yeah. That's good.
So yeah, I think leadership is super important because it provides direction and it provides structure in like, if you just think about it in like a general sense, but if you think about like your workplace or like an organization, like it provide like having leaders, they kind of direct where that organization goes and provide structure of like how it runs.
Yeah, that's good.
And then it also creates a culture and a vision for that organization. I'm just saying organization so that you can like visualize what I'm putting down. About, yeah. So like the leadership is important because it provides all of these things. Yeah. And in Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14, it says, where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety.
That's good.
Yeah. I like the NLT version, like the beginning portion. It says, without wise leadership, a nation falls. There is safety in having many advisors. Yeah. And I think this is just like, kind of reiterates like the importance of leadership, how we need people to lead us. Yeah. Otherwise there's no structure, there's nothing to like follow, nothing to do, like stick to. It's kind of like chaos.
Yeah, it kind of just reminds me, before we get into the next point, it kind of just reminds me a lot of just how the church is structured in general. Yeah. Specifically because, I mean, I can base this off of our church because that's the church that I go to. Right. But like, every church has a vision and like the leadership, the guy who's in charge, the lead pastor puts this vision in place of us so that like we can succeed as people too and grow and rise up leaders. But like if he didn't have a vision, like we would kind of just be a church that goes nowhere. Yeah. But like that vision, it helps you stay focused in a certain area. That's all I wanted to say. Yeah. But it's very important because it does provide direction and structure and that's what the vision does or whatever. But kind of going off of like the importance of leadership and the point that I brought out earlier, just with how I think everybody is called to be a leader. I think sometimes like we can become very complacent and just think like, because I'm not there or because I don't have vision or I don't have structure or whatever right now, that like I'm fine and I'll just stay where I'm at. But like, no, God is calling you to more. God is calling you to different places. So like you need to be a leader. So what does a leader look like? What does it mean to be a leader? What does it look like to be a leader? Well, one thing that I think kind of makes a leader is someone who is good at stewardship. That's true, not everybody, you're not going to be the best at stewardship right out the bat. No. But it's something that you can work on. And if you're willing to work on it, like you're growing your leadership skills, right? Yeah. So in 1 Timothy, it kind of just talks about just some kind of like qualities or qualifications of a leader, someone who's over people. And it says, therefore, an overseer must be above reproach, the husband of one wife, sober-minded, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, and able to teach. And then it kind of lists on like a few other things, all the way up until all the way up until verse 7. And it just kind of lists like certain things that these people are supposed to be, which is a good example to follow. And also we see in the story of Moses, if we look in Exodus, we see that in the story of Moses, that there are also some qualifications, some list of things that are kind of like required for this position of leadership. And in Exodus 18:21, Exodus 18 verse 21, it says, moreover, look for able men from all of the people, men who fear God, who are trustworthy and hate a bribe. So like, I just think good stewardship kind of falls in all of these categories. You know, like you have to be sober-minded. So like, are you stewarding the way that your mind is?
Right.
You know, are you like, oh, well, like I like money, so I'll take the bribe. It's like, no, like how do you all in all steward everything that you're given so that you can be placed in a position of leadership?
Yeah.
Or like whatever.
Yeah, that's good. And you mentioned like requirements.
Yeah.
A little bit, not really, but
I mean, that's what these verses verses are. Like some of these verses kind of like explain kind of requirements in a sense. And there's more places in the Bible that say it, but I think these two stuck out the most because like it just lists them plain and simple. Right.
Yeah. So in Luke 12:48, it says, from everyone who has been given much shall much be required.
That's good. I mean, like it's pretty much a statement of what being called to more is.
Yeah.
Like God is requiring more of you. So then like with that, there's more that's required of you in a sense. Like God is like, okay, like I want to put you here. So that causes, you know, for you to grow in your leadership, to grow in your thing, to like be at that level.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So like when you think of leadership, you think of like, how do I become a leader? Like, what are things that I need to have to be a leader? And so we're just going to go over like some qualities of leadership, of a leader. The first one is faithfulness. And so I always think of Noah in the ark, because like he had to, like, just imagine like God telling you to build a boat.
Yeah.
And it's like he's like
100
for
years.
what?
Yeah, it's 100 years before he even has to like use it.
And like he's like spending all this energy like building this boat that he like has no idea like what it's for. And everyone's probably like, what is this dude doing? Like he's so crazy building this boat. Like for what?
Yeah.
And so just like his faithfulness. Yeah, his faithfulness is like something that sticks out because he obeyed God in whatever God told him to do, and like it paid off in the end because he made it to the
he was the only homie who was like, all right, well, the rain came and only him and his family were on the boat, not everybody else.
Right.
And so like it does require a lot of faith for you to be like, okay, God, I'm gonna do this, and not even see anything happen for 100 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah. And that's leadership for you.
Come on.
The second one is integrity.
Yes, come on.
We talked about that in our last episode.
9.
Yes.
Make sure you give it a listen.
Yes, if you want more in depth on integrity, go there. But I always think of Daniel.
Daniel's my homie, by the way.
I know, it's so good.
I don't know. The whole story of Daniel speaks of integrity.
Yes.
Ugh.
Read Daniel.
Yeah. If you guys haven't caught on by now, read the Bible. But Daniel, my man Daniel, like, he was captured and taken back to a land that wasn't his. And instead of him, you know, falling into the king's way, just like the king was like, well, you're going to do everything the way that I tell you to. He was like, I actually love God more, so I'm not going to defile myself. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to, like, anything that separates me from God. I'm going to do the things that I know what to do. Yeah. And he was like, test me in it. And like, by the end of this time, you'll see that we're better off than your people.
Yeah.
This man kept his integrity. He was like, I'm not going to separate myself from God. I'm not going to defile myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do what I know is best.
Yeah.
And this man was used crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And, like, they obviously didn't like that he was so, like, you know, kept his morals when they told him not to.
Yeah.
Like, but keeping his integrity, like, that's how, you know, God showed up in the midst of what seemed like a situation where he wouldn't be able to get out from.
Yeah.
Like, God showed up and he moved because he led with integrity.
Yeah.
And it's super cool.
Y'all leaders out here, y'all need this. I mean, I need it too, but just like in general, like to be better at all of these qualities.
Oh, yes.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yes. We can never fully reach all of these qualities. Like, it's a journey.
Yeah.
The third one is patience. And I always think of Moses because Moses has a lot of patience.
He had to, oh my gosh, this man had to have a lot of patience.
Yes.
Dealing with these people.
So crazy. Yeah, I don't know how he did it. I mean, the Lord helped, I guess. I don't know.
I'm reading Moses now, like the whole story of Moses. And if it were me, I would be way more fed up quicker. Like,
yes.
I really wouldn't have made it through the 40 years. Like, let alone, I wouldn't have made it through the 40 years. I would have been like, y'all fools, bro. Like, the Lord is providing and y'all forget 2 days later and want to do something different and then complain and all this type of stuff.
This is how I feel now. Like,
but God always,
like, bro, what? Why are you quitting?
Right. No,
Do you not see everything God is doing?
No, people just want the quick way out.
Yeah.
They want the whatever.
Yeah, they don't have patience.
That's exactly what
it is. And you need
it
for leadership. And in your leadership, you have to deal with impatient people. So you're always practicing patience.
Name names.
Nah. I won't.
No, don't do that.
The fourth one is servanthood.
Can I honestly say that I think servanthood is probably the number one for me. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, these
top. I know it's not in order,
but yes,
I know it's not in order, but for me personally, I think servanthood is like top.
Yeah, it should be. Yes, because Jesus.
Like,
yeah, Jesus served.
Yeah,
his
he did.
People.
There was I don't know where the story is, but like whatever. It's kind of just like when the disciples were like, "Yo, God, like Jesus, what are you doing? Why are you washing my feet?" And he's like, "Well, if I can't even, this is the type of leadership that I've come to do. Like this is the type of whatever. I have to serve you.
Yeah,
whatever. I'm getting down to your level.
Yes.
So like, servanthood is number one.
Yeah, because if you don't serve and you don't have servanthood, like." You just think you're like on top of everyone. You think you're like the best and you're not.
Pride can creep in.
Yeah. And pride is no good. It'll tear you down. So I think that's very important to have, the heart of servanthood like Jesus had.
Yeah. Oof. That's good. The next one on the list is passion.
Yes.
Passion is important. Yeah. Like why would you do something that you're not passionate about? Why would you stick in a situation that like doesn't bring you joy or anything, or that you have like a heart or a burden for?
Right. 'Cause this makes you miserable.
Right. Like me at my job right now, currently.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. But like, like if you aren't consistently, or if you don't continue to have that fire and that passion in your body for the things of God, or like the thing that you're doing, period, point blank. It doesn't even have to be like, if we take it outside of Christian, right? Like if you are not passionate about what you do, like you said, you will be miserable, and it'll be pointless, and you're wasting your life away,
right?
And turning to other things that satisfy you more than whatever. Like no, like come on, be passionate about what you do. I think it's so important as a leader, because then the people that you're leading, the people that are following you, they see that behind you, and then they're like, oh, I get it.
It's like a fire. You're like, I want that.
Yeah, but then you're also impacting their lives in a greater way than you would if you, I'm just doing this for a job.
Right.
I signed up for this, and the first couple of weeks I did it was great, but now I don't like it anymore, but I'm gonna do this because whatever. They can see that, and you're not gonna go anywhere.
Right.
So The next one is obedience. That is also, I would say, a number one quality for me in leadership too. Because like, I don't understand people who just don't listen to their leadership. No, and like don't obey the simple rule. Like,
it bothers me so much.
Recently, it has bothered me so much more than what I thought. Because I'm pretty much like if I'm under you, I respect you, and then I'll obey you, right? Yes. But then you see people that like they hear it and they're like, yeah, cool. No. Yeah. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then they get repercussions, and then they still do the same thing. I'm like, no. Why don't you just avoid all the repercussions and then just be obedient or whatever? Yeah. And it's not even to just the people that are over you. Like, it's obedience to God. Yes. And people will listen to God.
They'll hear him speak
clearly, and they're like, cool, no.
I don't think that's for me.
Yeah, I think God is telling me to do this, but I really just, no, I don't feel like that's correct. No, come on, guys. Obedience is important. Like, Abraham obeyed. Yeah. My man, Abraham.
My gosh.
He became the father of many nations, of all nations, man, because of his obedience to what God said. He left a land that he knew because he heard God speak to him, and then followed him. And then whatever God said, he was like, yeah, okay.
That's crazy. And also, like, I'm also watching The Chosen right now because I'm kind of behind on the whole whatever.
You are. It's okay.
It's fine.
The Chosen is great.
Yeah. Go watch it if you haven't.
Yes.
But, you know, like, obviously it's bringing back the Gospels for me. Mm-hmm. But, like, how Jesus comes and is like, hey, follow me. Mm-hmm. And then they just like, okay. And then, like, they go, which is, like, you think it's so crazy because, like, they have a whole family and like, you know, a whole job. And they're just like, let's just leave and follow this dude that just appeared out of nowhere and see how that leads us.
But they also knew who he was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just thinking about it, like, and that's the thing that boggles my mind. Like, we know who Jesus is and we know who God is.
Yeah, and they don't.
And we, like, only halfway follow him.
Yeah.
But these people, they were like, no, I know you're the Messiah. I'm following you wholeheartedly to the ends of the earth. That's what we're called to do. We're supposed to, like, love God with all of our hearts, our minds, and our souls. But we're like, we'll love you with our heart.
Partially.
But do you want the rest? Like, I'm not going to love you with my soul and my mind. Like, no, it's like a full thing. It's a full thing, guys.
Yeah.
Obedience. Just be obedient because we know who God is.
Yeah.
And we need to do the same things as the disciples did. I'm mad. Oh, man.
It's real. We need to practice obedience more.
Yes.
The next one is someone who strives for growth.
Yeah.
And has vision. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of what we were talking before about how leadership provides a vision. Yeah. Like, if you have a vision, like, that's a good quality to have. And, like, that if you, like, want growth, like, just in your basic life, because, like, you know, it doesn't have to be, like, I need to grow as a leader. Like, it could just be, like, I want to get better.
Yeah.
And it, like, it just shows leadership qualities just because, like, you want to get better and you want to move forward and move up. Not necessarily, like, doesn't have to be, like, leadership.
Or, like, positional wise. Right. Like, you just want to get better.
Yeah. Just want to be, like, I want to grow closer to God. I want to be a better follower of Christ. Like, just having that. And it just shows that you have a vision for your future and want to continue in your walk with Christ. And that's just a great quality.
Man, nothing is worse than a person who lacks vision or who lacks growth.
Yeah.
Like, you're aimless. You're kind of just like living each day as it goes by, but you don't have anything that you're aiming for.
I remember I was at that point, like, before I got saved. And I was like, is this what life is like? I was, like, miserable. I was like, I don't want to, like, obviously I didn't know, like, that I could do more in a sense. But, like, I was like, wow, I'm just going to work every day of my life and do this and go to school and, like, for what? And, like, all these things. And so just not having that initial, like, strive to grow was so miserable.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
No, yeah, for sure. Like, you definitely, as a leader, should have that hunger and thirst to keep going, whatever. So that's good. The next quality that we think is great for a leader.
Oh yeah.
Or the next quality that kind of makes sort of like a leader is confidence. Like,
yeah,
having confidence definitely is pretty important, only because like if you're unsure of what you're doing, if you're unsure of where you're going or the vision that you're having, like nobody's really gonna follow you, because
right.
nobody follows anybody who just doesn't know where they're going.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back with this whole like vision, like having vision.
Yeah.
If you don't have an attainable goal, like as a leader, nobody's gonna follow somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
That's true.
So you have to have at least the confidence of what you're doing, but also the confidence in God.
Yeah.
Like this is what I'm called to do. This is whatever. And like people just follow people who are strong and confident in what they say and what they do.
That's true.
As long as it also biblically lines up.
Right. Yes, that's important.
Yeah.
Because you can be confident and be wrong.
Oh yeah, you could be really confident and be wrong. I'm pretty sure we've all been confident in some things before, and then I found out we were completely wrong in them, and we're like, ooh.
Oops. That's how you grow. Anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is humility / accepts rebuke.
Yeah, kind of like
they go together, but
yeah, kind of like the verse before. Like a leader has to be above reproach, which is kind of like the same concept.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, we're almost done with this list too. But another one that's important, that is an important quality of a leader, is someone who has gratitude, but also shows gratitude too.
Yes.
Like, you are grateful for the position that you're in. It kind of goes with like humility and all that type of stuff. But then also like you can show gratitude to other people too.
Oh, yeah.
Because like same thing. Like if you're in a position of being a leader and you don't show gratitude to people, and be like, oh, I really appreciate you or whatever. Like it's gonna be like, oh, all right, whatever. Like
yeah, especially if you're like a leader of a team and you don't show your gratitude to your team, they'll probably feel like trash, because like they'll be like, wow, they don't appreciate the things that I do for this team.
Yeah, you will feel like less than.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right.
So it's super important to show your gratitude, but also like if you don't, that could like also lead to pride and like being like,
I was the one who did all of these types of things.
Yeah. The last one is having authentic influence. And so like you obviously see people who just have natural influence with other people, like they're natural leaders, and like just having that, like, you know, once you walk in leadership, you have all these qualities, like people just automatically want to follow you, and they just see stuff in you that you might not necessarily know or like understand, but it's like an authentic influence, and it's not like manipulation.
Yeah.
It's not like influence that you're like trying to gather followers for something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I keep thinking about cults for this, but
I don't know. Kind of. I mean, not in the cult way, but I just think about like all of these kind of like big churches that have fallen, and their influence is kind of rooted in, well, what can I get from other people?
Yeah.
And so like that's where you hear all of these allegations of like people in these churches, like these leaders of these churches, like siphoning money off the top and like all this type of stuff, or like using people just for their abilities and nothing else. Like we were talking, like even with gratitude, and like they're just taking on these things like, how can I use people? How can I use people? How can I use people to get to the top because I want to have this influence? But then they get found out and their whole world comes crashing down.
Yeah.
Like that's not what leadership should be. Leadership should come from a genuine place of just like, man, like I'm doing this thing and like I have humility or whatever, and I really love people.
Yeah.
And my influence isn't out of malice.
Right.
It's out of just natural, like, And I mean, just listening and like thinking about all of these qualities, like it can seem like it's a lot or whatever. And sometimes these qualities can seem like they're unattainable, but that's not true at all. Like these, they're very attainable as you continue to walk and grow in your leadership and understand what your leadership is. And I think, you know, a couple of places that we can start specifically one of my favorites is like leading yourself before you lead others, not leave them, lead them.
Don't leave them.
Don't leave them, lead them. And I've been reading this book, How to Lead When You're Not in Charge. And actually one of the chapters just dives deep into really what it means to lead yourself before you lead others. Because if you don't know how to do it by yourself, then how are you going to teach other people to do it for themselves? And then it kind of just has some leadership principles, self-leadership principles that I want to kind of touch on a little bit. I'm not going to go in depth on all of them, but model followership, which is kind of like, it's an interesting word, followership, but it kind of really is just talking about like, are you following and submitting to the authority that's kind of above you at this time? Because specifically this book really talks about before you get into your leadership position, like, are you submitting and following your authority and all of that type of stuff? Because like, you have to do that before you even get into a place of leadership or whatever. So it's really just talking about, that point is really just talking about like, you know, being all in with your boss, or just really just saying like, no, like if people want to talk bad about this person, like I'm not going to keep myself in that situation because I'm fully behind this person and I'm submitting to their authority or whatever. And yeah, maybe they are doing stuff that I don't like, whatever. Specifically this is talking about a bad boss, but like it doesn't matter. Like I'm gonna do it because they are the person that's above me.
Charge,
and then the next one is monitor your heart and your behavior. And really what that's just talking about is like, what are your intentions behind certain things? Like just make sure before you step into a new role or step into something different, like the intentions aren't negative or aren't bad. Like you're doing it out of like a genuine heart and a clear mind. And the last one, which is my favorite one, honestly, is make a plan. And the way he says it is, it's a lead me plan. But if it goes back to like having goals and having vision and all that type of stuff, like if you don't have these things, then how can you lead?
Right.
You have to be able to say like, this is my 2-month plan, this is my 1-year plan or whatever, and just have a goal that you're attaining to, whether it is just growing more in understanding a certain thing or whatever, or reading more self-help leadership books and stuff like that. Like if you have a plan, it can help you in the long run.
That's good.
Also another thing that I think is like, you know, really important to kind of just get a start on all of this is to lead where you're at. Like a lot of people will see leaders ahead of them or people ahead of them and be like, well, that's what I want to be, so I have to lead in the same capacity. And like, that's not true. Like you can't, if you're, we talked about it before, but like, I can't compare myself to a Pastor Carl if I'm Renee. Like I'm not in the same position, the same walk in life, in the same place. So I can only do what I can with what I have where I'm at before I can lead further than that.
Yeah, that's good. And also I think leading from your overflow is super important, and that's kind of super churchy term. But basically it just means like just being prayerful, being in your word, like loving God, and you know, from that like it'll overflow into your leadership. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, for sure. Okay. Like the Holy Spirit fills you. And you do that happens when you do read your word and you're in prayer or whatever. And then from that, like, then you can flow, like, and lead others.
Yeah. And also, like, once you're in your word, like, you hear from God and he like, prompts you to do things that you might just be like, oh, I'm just obeying God. But it's, like, really, like, a step towards your leadership. Yeah. You know, like, joining internship or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But also just understanding leader versus follower, like you can follow a leader as they follow Christ, and that'll help you, like, you know, naturally become a leader as you follow them. Yeah,
because you can see like how they're doing certain things,
right?
You know, and you're
how like, they're living their life.
Yeah, and even like going back to one of the points that I made before about stewardship, like how are they being a steward of their time and all this type of stuff. Like you get to see all of that type of stuff if you follow, like, or as you follow a leader, as they are really following Christ, not follow a leader as they follow the world.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's
but
very
as
important.
They follow Christ.
Yeah, And in Hebrews 13, verse 7, it says, "Remember your leaders, those who spoke to you the word of God. Consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their faith." Basically what we just said.
Yeah, it's really good.
But just, just remember the people that are above you, and like, if, they preach the word of God and they believe in that and they're following that, like, just see their fruit. Like, you could see their fruit from their life.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, what they're doing is following God. Like, you should imitate their faith.
Yeah.
So that you can also gain that fruit.
Yeah.
And it's just like that cycle that continues.
That's really good. And I like that a lot. And now we're moving to takeaways.
Hey.
We're doing takeaways, guys. So, Angelis, do you have any takeaways from this episode?
Nah. Just kidding.
Me either. That's the end. All right, bye, guys. That's it.
Just kidding. Yes, I really think it's super important that you just following Christ leads you to leadership. Like, I don't know, some people think that when you have to be a leader, it's, I have to make sure I do all these things and then I'm a leader, but like truly just like follow Christ and he'll take you where he needs you to go, and like it will naturally get you there.
That's really, really good. I think a takeaway for me is kind of just like that everybody is called to leadership.
Yes.
For one, like, don't ever disqualify yourself because you see the small list of roles, though they are not small offices to hold, but it'll list a few, and then you neglect all the other things that, God has already said that, like, we're supposed to do. So one, that everybody is called to leadership, but then two, my next takeaway is that, like, kind of just listing the things that make a leader.
Yeah.
It's kind of good to see what those things are, especially as someone who's like, you hear the word leader and you freak out. You're like, oh my gosh, what's a leader? But then you boil it down to like, well, a leader is someone who's faithful, or a leader is someone who has a vision and all these types of things. And you're like, oh, well, I can see I have those things or whatever. And even if you don't, then it can help you take this really big, scary word and then break it down and then work towards, like your full potential of leadership. Yeah. So I think that is my few takeaways from this episode.
Yes.
Yeah. So now going into my favorite part of these episodes, which is Spotify Song of the Episode.
Yeah.
Guys, if you don't know what this is a playlist that we have curated and made for you guys. We have a link to it. Make sure you listen to the songs. But on it, we just put a song that we think will inspire you throughout this time and lift you up and all of that. So this week's song is called Cisterns by the psalmist Rain. Ooh. It's such a beautiful song. Yeah. I randomly heard it from someone before and was like, what is this joint? I want to hear what this is, like, for real. But it kind of is just like, it talks about like laying down your will and letting God take that and expand it into something that's greater than you could imagine or think.
Yeah.
Like, so good. It's really just laying down, God, what I want to do. What do you want me to do? Mm-hmm. So it's a solid song for you guys.
Check it out.
For real.
We release episodes on the 1st and 3rd Friday of every month. Make sure you turn on your notifications so that you know when an episode drops. Also, follow us on Instagram at hidden_but_not_unseen because we'll be posting updates there.
So, I hope you enjoy our banter as we go on this journey through life together.